Any athlete or active person knows how important their joints and ligaments are for movement, and what problems can result when you have a torn ligament or injury to a joint like the shoulder or knee.
Ligaments are a very important part of every joint. They're the structure that allows the joint to move in the appropriate direction, and it keeps it from moving in the wrong direction. When you get an injury to a joint, you come up with a problem with the bones not going in the right direction or not being held, and the joint becomes unstable. People have always heard about a knee becoming an unstable knee and it goes out on somebody. That's usually because of a ligament.
It means you then need surgery to repair the ligaments and attach them back to the bone. Certainly, retired orthopedic surgeon Dr. John Hayhurst is familiar with the procedure. As one of the foremost experts and a pioneer in arthroscopy, he remembers the old ways of repairing torn ligaments.
We would try to attach that by using staples or screws or drilling holes through the bone or making a tunnel through the bone and placing sutures through that.
It means cutting large incisions through healthy tissue just to reach the area to do the repair. But it was in 1982, when he was doing surgery on a dislocated shoulder, that Dr. Hayhurst had a better idea.
My idea was, why don't we just drill 3 holes or 3 or 4 holes in the front of the joint here, take a piece of plastic with a suture attached to it, put it into holes that were slightly smaller than it, and have the sutures attached to this tissue, and then suture this right back down.
In other words, just sew the ligament to the bone using a suture or thread and a bone anchor. It was an idea he tried out in the most simplistic way.
I went home and I went to a hobby shop and got a piece of plastic, rod, whittled an anchor, attached a piece of string to it, drilled a smaller hole in a piece of wood and pressed it in with a hammer, and it worked.
It was the simple technique of using bone anchors to hold sutures in place that Dr. Hayhurst believed would work just as well in surgery on the human body.
I said, this makes this job really significantly better in that it takes less time, less anesthetic time, smaller incisions, and I thought, well, this can be used arthroscopically, and maybe we can do this whole procedure arthroscopically instead of making the large incisions that would cause a couple of problems. Less chance of infection, less pain for the patient, faster recovery, and less damage to normal tissues that you didn't have to go through to get down to the joint.
But it was when Dr. Hayhurst began the long, expensive process of preparing drawings, applying for patents, and receiving FDA approval of his invention that he began to question whether his revolutionary idea was even worth pursuing.
It got to the point that I was using a lot of my discretionary income to do this, and after several rejections, I talked with my wife and said, this is really taking a lot of our time and money, and she said, well, do you believe in it? I said, yeah. She says, let's keep going.
He finally found an arthroscopic company called Acufex that had recently been purchased by a huge holding company willing to finance the development of his bone anchors and a T-fix suturing system, along with the controlled studies necessary for FDA approval. Finally, in the 1990s, his method of using bone anchors was marketed and rapidly became the mainstream method for arthroscopic surgery on ligaments today.
I could do it all inside the joint without having to go through the back of the joint and without the potential of causing injuries to the nerves and arteries. And that worked very well. Became as simple as sewing. Today, these procedures are done by the majority of orthopedists in a variety of procedures daily.
Today, common shoulder injuries, torn ligaments, and rotary cuff tears are regularly treated using suture anchors and the T-fix system invented by Dr. Hayhurst, and he has a message to give anyone who ever has an idea that will help others.
I think the message that I would like to give is that if you come up with an idea and you believe that it's going to be very helpful to somebody, stick with it. And if you get a rejection, go someplace else.
Dr. Hayhurst hasn't slowed down in his retirement today. He's just changed his passion to now helping children with life-threatening diseases.
My passion today is to try to figure out the treatment and cure for arthritis, childhood arthritis, and rheumatological diseases. A lot of people don't realize that children get these very debilitating diseases.
Please join Dr. Hayhurst in support of the Childhood Arthritis and Rheumatology Research Alliance by sending a tax-free donation in support of the Friends of Cara.